Hey everyone, welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Ashley Mova, and this is the daily show where we give you all of the latest news from the world of movies, plus a little bit of insight into what it all means. Joining us as always is AMC Movie News Editor-in-Chief, John Campea.
Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, coming to you live from right here at the Stream.TV studios here in Hollywood, California, and an especially warm welcome to all of you people who know who Calvin and Hobbes is.
And also here, writer-director John Schnepp.
Yeah, it's just a strange feeling when you when you know what Calvin and Hobbes is. You just have a warm feeling in your heart. I don't know.
And also here, AMC's Mark Ellis.
I'm actually joined by Hobbes right here. You guys can't see him, but he's there, all right.
Oh, for you who don't know what I'm talking about, I'm gonna throw her under the bus.
Oh God!
Every day we come into the studio, and, because sometimes there's some new names and writers and directors that none of us have heard of yet, and sometimes there'll be some pronunciation issues. So I walk into the studio this morning, and Ashley looks at me and she goes, "John, is it Calvin and Hobbes or Calvin and Hobbes?" And I'm like looking at her, I'm like, "Dear God, tell me you're joking." She didn't know who Calvin and Hobbes is.
One of the greatest comic strips of all time, Ashley.
All time. So I told her I'm going to buy her one of the Calvin and Hobbes collections. And I think I'm going to do a video blog, too. We're going to do a video blog of this, Ashley. After you get a chance to read through the collection I'm going to buy you, we're going to sit down, we're going to talk about your first experience with Calvin and Hobbes. I'm actually a little bit excited that we have a Calvin and Hobbes.
Wait, but I'm a lifelong fan, and you're not going to buy me one? She's never heard of it before.
John, you forgot Ashley already had experience with Calvin and Hobbes.
Oh, that's
those
right.
clubs that she goes to.
That's right.
Little peeing Calvin.
She's like, wait a minute. She's like, wait, is that the little guy on the bumper stickers who's peeing on things? I was like, that's your only exposure to Calvin and Hobbes?
That's after the tiger died and he went rogue.
This generation is doomed. Let's get to movie news.
All right, guys. Well, before we get to that story, as was first reported by our own John Campea last night, the first Fantastic Four trailer hit the web this morning, giving us our first look at the reboot. Fantastic Four offers a contemporary reimagining of Marvel's original and longest-running superhero team. The story centers on four young outsiders who teleport to an alternate and dangerous universe, which alters their physical form in shocking ways. Their lives irrevocably appended, the team must learn to harness their daunting new abilities and work together to save Earth from a former friend turned enemy. John, what did you think of the first Fantastic Four trailer?
It's a great first trailer. It is a great first trailer. And, especially for a first, and it's less than 2 minutes, longer than your normal teaser, shorter than a full-on trailer. So I'm going to call it a semi-teaser. We all like getting a semi once in a while. So it's a semi teaser where it does what we talk about this a lot, about what a first trailer needs to do. The first trailer really didn't give us a lot, but it painted the picture of the movie for us. It gave us a sense of the feel of this movie and the tone of this movie, and we got a sense of the identity of the movie without a lot of the plot of the movie, which is great for a first trailer. Now, follow-up trailers are going to have to give us more, but for a first trailer, I thought this was really solid. I was impressed enough that I got in a discussion on Twitter with some friends of mine saying, do you see that Fantastic Four trailer? And eventually after the back and forth, I just said, you know what? I am left with no other option than to believe that no matter how good this trailer was, you were just going to say it was bad. Because the trailer is good, and this is a good trailer. You slap another name on this. Now, look, we also know a couple things about this. Our friend who's on the show quite a lot, Steve Frosty Weintraub from Collider, just did an interview with Josh Trank and Simon Kinberg about the film. And I love how, all those ridiculous rumors are going around that, Trank is showing up to set drunk every day, and sometimes he can show up and he's late.
Trash the set or whatever.
And all this kind of stuff. And I love how Trank is so above it. He didn't even dignify it with a response, that stuff with a response. But he did say this, which I think was an underhanded attack on it. He said, look, our shooting schedule on this movie was 72 days. I was on schedule. We were on budget. I run a tight ship. And then we did a little bit of reshoots, which I have done in all movies I've done so far, what Marvel does in all their movies so far. And he just kind of left it at that, which I thought was a really nice way of dealing with it. I like the picture it paints. Now, the Transformers 4 trailer was awesome too. And we all saw how that turned out. So just speaking for the trailer, and nothing but the trailer, I gotta say it was a good trailer. I enjoyed it. Anyway, Mark, you saw. What did you think of it?
This movie's going to be better than Transformers 4. I'll go ahead and say that.
That's bold.
Right.
That's a bold prediction.
This thing did this trailer did two things really well to me. I liked the trailer a lot. What it did is that you heard about all these problems on set, and once the trailer started, I forgot about all that stuff. I forgot about all these reports that the set was like the Delta Talcai house from Animal House, and all of a sudden it was like, oh, now I'm in this world. I felt like I could root for these guys. I knew who to get behind. I got a little bit of the background, just enough to get me excited to see the film. It wasn't too much of a tease either, because you actually did get to see the thing, and you got to see Human Torch, and you just got to see a little bit of them turn into their characters. And what it nailed was that last shot. It was almost Avengers-y. Remember the Avengers-y, the tracking shot with all 6 of them? You had, from behind, you saw them all looking towards this one thing shooting up. It was really, really neat to see that. I am on board. I've never been a huge Fantastic Four fan, so watching this, I went in, I was like, I don't really have huge expectations for this movie. I think it's going to be cool.
Schnepp, I, as somebody who holds a very cherished place for the original Fantastic Four films in your heart, because we all know how you love them so much.
I do. No, not the movies.
Oh, no, I'm talking about the movie.
No, I hated the movies.
Your thoughts on the trailer?
I was shocked and surprised at how much I liked this trailer. I would almost say I love this trailer. I mean, I read that article first on Collider and was very impressed with both Kinberg and Trank's, approach to the film, about how they are holding back and that they've held back on purpose. And what that's done is that's created such an anticipation that I was like, I can't wait to see this trailer, even though I knew after reading the article they're not going to show that much. But just the things that Trank talked about, what the qualities he was looking for. He was looking for a science fiction horror film as opposed to a superhero film, which when I was a kid, Fantastic Four, I didn't know what a science fiction horror film was. But when you're watching this film about crazy mutated people who can stretch, one guy's bricks, another dude goes on fire, the other person is invisible, that's a horror movie. And I've always felt that the Fantastic Four, there's a couple of comics that have done kind of a horror spin on it, and it's always been that untapped potential. When I was reading that, he's like talking about Cronenberg, like Scanners and
the Fly.
I was like, oh my God, he has nailed it. Everything in my mind about this movie just flipped. And then I saw the trailer this morning, and I was blown away. It really captures this aesthetic of that rides that line of like, we're going on this mysterious journey. These characters get transformed. It's going to be this really cool adventure, I think. I love all of the characters, the actors. Everything about it was really fantastic.
I'm really glad you brought it, because I also read that interview, and great job by Steve on that interview, by the way. I read that interview, and what really captured me was that whole, when Trank says, my major influence in this film is David Cronenberg. And talking about Scanner, The Fly, stuff like that, it's like, really, that's odd. And then you see the trailer, and you're like, he nailed it. Like, he nailed it.
There's no Doom presence though, right? As far as I could see.
There might have been. My only fear is that like last shot with electricity is they gave Doom electrical powers again, which is my sore spot for the movies, because Dr. Doom in the comic books doesn't have electrical powers and he wasn't mutated. But you know what? If it's done right, I'll be forgiving, even with that. And I gotta say, like, I had some insider friends who told me a lot about the script and scenes from the movie that, so that I was, I didn't know the entire script, but I knew scenes from the film. And specifically the origin I was like, wow, that's like a horror movie. And in this trailer, there's little clips that I was like, wow, they did do it, and it looks incredible. I mean, that's what I was like, wow, I really, my expectations for this film are just blown out of the wall.
Yeah, now, if this was the third trailer, I'd say underwhelming. But as the first teaser, I think it was as good as it could possibly be done. I really like it.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
In an age where we've become accustomed to seeing films being pushed back 6 months to a year, Paramount Pictures, according to a report in The Hollywood Reporter, has surprised the film world by announcing their upcoming Mission Impossible 5 has been moved up 5 months from December 25th to July 31st, just 6 months from now. No official explanation has been given for the move. Schnepp, do you like the change in date for Mission Impossible 5?
Yeah, I love it. I loved Mission Impossible 4. Who's directing the fifth one right now?
Oh God, I can't remember. I'll look that up as you're talking.
Yeah, but I mean, them moving it up 5 months, fantastic. I'll use fantastic for the rest of this episode. Fantastic Four. I'm sorry, Fantastic Five. No, wait, Mission Impossible 5. So yeah, I'm all for it. You know, there was a couple weeks ago, somebody wrote in that was like, oh, Renner, you know, he's gotten shafted, this and that. He's in Mission Impossible 5. He's part of this team. I don't see, you know, the crybaby stuff for Renner. I'm not into. I was like, hey, he's part of all these. He's Hawkeye in the Avengers. I can't remember his name. He's some cool agent dude in Mission Impossible 5. So bring it on.
So now he's got 2 big summer movies
That's
coming
right.
out because they moved it up. I mean,
Yeah.
I think this is in no small ways just a response to the fact that, hey, we really don't want to go the week after Star Wars. I think that was
Yep.
part of it, but it also says you do not move your movie this far up if you don't have a lot of confidence in it. Okay, you don't put it in the middle of July unless you're like, no, this thing's going to be big. And I think that they have faith in this film. There's 2 movies that you do not want to open up anywhere near this year, and that's Avengers: Age of Ultron, and that's Star Wars: The Force Awakens. So they got the hell out of that wake, and I think that they're going to be very comfortable in July because I love when a movie moves forward. It's like, no, we like our product. We can't wait to show it to the public.
Yeah, and by the way, it was Christopher McQuarrie, which I can't believe we didn't remember because
of course.
he directed Tom Cruise in Jack Reacher, which I thought was an underappreciated
And
film.
didn't he write The Usual Suspects?
Yeah,
he did, I'm pretty sure.
He did write The Usual Suspects. He also wrote another, actually, I think an underrated Tom Cruise movie, Valkyrie, directed by Bryan Singer.
Okay.
So obviously very comfortable working with him. Yeah, look, we talked about Mission Impossible 5 opening a week after Star Wars before, and we felt pretty good that it can hold its own. It will be okay. A lot of people will have seen Star Wars that first opening week, and yeah, a lot of people are going to go see the second week, but I thought they were banking on the fact that everybody's going to go see Star Wars, love it, and then want to go to the movies again next week and go see that. I never thought they were this confident and this prepared at this point to say, we're going to move it up 5 months. I honestly can't remember, and guys in the chat board, if you know of a film that's done this, let me know. I cannot remember a movie being moved up this far. This is just 6 months away now from its actual release date. So I think this says nothing but good things. You're moving it from a Christmas date, which is a very valuable date, into the summer blockbuster movie season, which is also a good date. You're right. It speaks about their confidence in the film. It speaks about how far along they are in the process. This is good news all the way around, so I like it a lot.
McQuarrie, I think he did Jack Reacher with Cruise.
Yeah, that's what. He directed that with him. Yeah. All right, now it's time for the show for Buy or Sell. Here's how this works. In front of her, Ashley, who's never heard of Calvin and Hobbes, will list several other items in the world of movie news, and then those of us at the table are simply going to say whether we buy it or sell it. So, Ashley, what do we got?
Academy Award nominated writer Chris Weitz has been hired to work on the screenplay for the upcoming Star Wars spin-off movie, set to hit AMC theaters on December 16, 2016. Weitz was nominated for the screenplay adaptation of the 2002 film About a Boy, and also wrote the upcoming live-action Cinderella film for Disney on March 13th. Mark, buy or sell Chris Weitz writing the Star Wars spin-off film?
I'm buying it because Chris Weitz is a huge Calvin and Hobbes fan. This guy knows source material. I'm gonna buy it. That you say Academy Award nominated writer, and that's all well and good. He wrote About a Boy, which is terrific. He wrote Ants. He wrote The Nutty Professor 2, I believe, and those are, I think, his best 3 credits as far as screenwriting goes. Until you get to Cinderella, and Cinderella is a film that trailer surprised me. I know, obviously, it's a Disney property.
Too.
They're very excited about the live action element, and it seems like they want to do that with their other films now. So they have a lot riding on Cinderella. So they have this much confidence in the guy that can pull that off to do a Star Wars spinoff. Then I think Disney. I'm starting to get that Marvel feel from Disney where they're starting to make all the right moves. They're starting to get a lot of momentum. They seem to be in a rhythm with not only the Marvel stuff, but now with Star Wars as well. So I think this is a good move going forward, and I have confidence in it.
Yeah, I buy it. And there seems to be a pattern emerging with all these Star Wars films where they get a really good writer on. The writer does their draft, then that writer moves on, and then they bring in another writer to take that work, build upon it, tweak it, whatever, which I think could be really interesting to see how it turns out. You mentioned Cinderella, and I remember one of the things that really makes me big on getting him in to do this is Kenneth Branagh is no slouch. And hearing Kenneth Branagh, who's directing Cinderella, talk about the script that he did gets me very excited. So I think this is a good thing all the way around.
That guy's read Shakespeare before, so he knows his stuff.
So for me, it's a buy.
Yeah, I'm going to buy it too, simply because of the writing. I think he's rewriting the script, but it's not a page one rewrite. They hired him on to do a dialogue draft. That's what it sounds like to me, because so many people are into what he's doing right now. They're like, get him to take a pass on it. So I'll buy it.
All right, what's next?
Through a lot of turmoil and seemingly endless uphill battles, the Deadpool movie is finally hitting AMC theaters on February 12, 2016, and goes in production in just 2 months. In a recent interview with MTV, Reynolds talked about the process, their ability to make the film in their own way, and the lingering pressure following the failure of the Green Lantern. Reynolds said the following: "It's been a long time, but it's happened in the right way, and that's all that matters. We don't have the kind of money that most superhero movies do, but that's great, actually. Necessity is the mother of invention, and that's why we get to make the movie we want to make. You gotta have faith in the people you're working with and have faith in the prep, and that's all I'm doing. On this one, the prep's been 11 years. You like to think you're putting your best foot forward, but we'll see." John Byers-Sell Reynolds' comments.
Oh, I love the comments, actually. He's absolutely spot on with all of it. You know, not getting the budget they wanted, he could whine and complain about it, but he's right. The less money you have, the more creative you have to be, and the more forceful you have to be with your creativity and your vision and all that kind of stuff. And he's absolutely right when he says, but you know, the fact that we got less money from the studio, that actually means it gives us more freedom to do what we want, because there's not as much pressure coming from them, which is great too. But also, in talking about the failure of the Green Lantern, saying, look, you got to brush it off. You have to just look at what's in front of you. Do you believe in the material you have? And if so, that's all that matters. So look, Deadpool may be great, may be horrible, may be terrible, I don't know. But right now, I believe Ryan Reynolds is looking at it the right way. So for me, it's a buy. Schnepp?
Yeah, I'm going to buy his comments. I mean, that's got to suck for anybody to be like, hey, I'm in this superhero that nobody wanted to see, and it's a box office failure, and the movie sucked as well as. I mean, it would be different if it was like critics were like, it's incredible, why don't you go see it? Like Dread or something like that.
Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah, or Edge of Tomorrow. But Green Lantern was just a horrible film. So I don't necessarily blame Ryan Reynolds for that. I think he's really funny, and this is a perfect role for him. So that it took so long and that everybody was behind him being Deadpool for this long. Every time someone mentioned Deadpool and Ryan Reynolds, I was like, when are they going to make it? So yeah. I'm all 100% buy.
And it seems like this is more of a passion project for him, too. I mean, when he mentioned this is 11 years in the making, and you could see what he invested into playing Deadpool in the first go-around in an otherwise awful movie, Wolverine, the origin one. Right. I think here, as opposed to where Green Lantern, he was a famous dude that they said, let's have you play Green Lantern. He embraced it as best he could. Yeah. I thought he was fine in Green Lantern, too. He wasn't the problem with that movie at all. Right. But I think with this, I think he's really invested in the material, and it seems like from those comments that he's working very closely with who's making the script and who's directing and everything. It seems like it's going to be a very cohesive unit to me, that it's almost like it's us against the world mentality because we didn't get all the fancy money that everybody else gets, so we have to be a little more creative in our decision making. Historically, that usually works pretty well in movies. It's usually the movies that get way too much money and can do whatever they want, that have free reign, spending all the studio dollars that end up being crap bombs like at Transformers. Here, if you have to be a little more creative and it's like Jaws where the shark doesn't work, then you tend to make a better movie.
All right, folks, we've reached that part of the show for Mailbag. Listen, if you've got a topic or a question you'd like us to address on the show, you can email us anytime at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. Now, we're going to try to save a couple of minutes at the end of the show, take some of your live questions. So if you're watching us live right now, tweet to us at AMC Movie News, and Ashley will pick a couple up. But for now, let's get to the Mailbag questions.
Magnus Melling writes, my question is about the comic strip Calvin and Hobbes. Do you think the cartoon could be a big feature film? I'm pretty sure it won't happen, but I would love to hear your thoughts about this because the comic means a lot to me, and I think it could be a pretty funny animated movie for adults.
Calvin and Hobbes is my all-time favorite comic strip. It's a great mixture of heart and emotion and like real true-to-life situations with unbelievable humor and hilarity and all that kind of stuff. It's just, I almost want to weep when I think about Calvin and Hobbes and the fact that it ended. I'm still not over the fact that it ended. And how great did that go? Do you remember the last panel of Calvin and Hobbes? You remember the very last one that Waters did? The strip is Calvin and Hobbes standing at top of a hill. It's snowy out. They've got their toboggan, and they talk a little bit. And the very last panel is them starting their slide down, and Calvin says, "Let's go exploring," and that's how it. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. Anyway, but oddly enough, I do not think it would work as a movie. Calvin and Hobbes was always done in bite sizes. It was always 3, 4, 5, 6 panel strips, little things. There wasn't like one cohesive, narrative of a story going around. And I think to take Calvin and Hobbes and force them into that wouldn't work. So I'm fine with just taking my Calvin and Hobbes collections, sitting back and reading them for the next few weeks, as opposed to a movie. So despite how much I love it, I wouldn't want to see a movie. I don't think it'll work. Schnepp?
I'll just have to use Peanuts as the version, because one of my favorite comic strips of all time is Peanuts, especially the old ones. For some reason, it's just like he got into Charlie Brown's head, like the lonely kid, the kid who's outcast, and all of his friends. That, you know, of course, Snoopy. To me, I also like the way it was drawn, the older versions. It had this really great look to it. But that then became a television series. Yeah. You know, they did these little specials, Charlie Brown Christmas, the Halloween, like remember he's got the Great Pumpkin, all these things that we all grew up with and became classics. And, you know, now they've got a Peanuts movie that we'll be seeing. You know, it's done kind of in like a weird hybrid 3D, you know, still true to the look of it, but it'll be 3D. And I'm interested in seeing it. Am I like, will it ever take away those newspaper strips that I loved as a kid? No. Will it be a great film? We don't know. Hopefully it is. Something like this, I don't know, I can't remember right now whether the creator of Calvin and Hobbes wanted this to ever be a cartoon or a movie, or maybe he's like, I'm not going to sell the rights or anything like that.
I think it was more along those lines.
Yeah, I mean, because it's obviously it's a real beloved strip that people would be like frothing, like, let me make a series or a cartoon or anything out of it, you know? Like I said, the only thing that I've ever seen of Calvin and Hobbes is the little kid peeing on the back of a Jeep. Me and Ashley know about that. But yeah, you know what? Whether or not it ever becomes a movie or a television show or whatnot, I don't think it matters, because as we know, we all love comic books, and I think they're different mediums. So it'll be transformed and change into something different, and it wouldn't have that little that quality of like a little nugget of an observation that the cartoon had. So.
Oh man, I think you guys are crazy. I think this would be a great feature film, because you look at something like Paddington that's out in theaters and everybody loves, you could have the same dynamic there where it's all live action except for this one creature that is kind of inside of Calvin's head. I think it'd be a really fun dynamic.
No, I'm not saying it would be bad to make it a
I'm
movie.
attacking you, Schnepp.
I
You're
can't
totally
believe you
wrong.
me. Ashley, help me.
I think that then I'll agree with you. I think it's going to be a great movie. I think something like The Far Side would have a lot more trouble getting to the big screen than something like Calvin and Hobbes, because it was always a linear story. So I would love to see a Calvin and Hobbes live action movie.
Great point about Peanuts and Paddington. All right, what's next?
Nathan Henderson writes, hey AMC movie crew, love the show. My question is, I know it's just a rumor, but what's your guys' opinion on Tyrese's acting ability, and your opinion on if he would be a good Jon Stewart Green Lantern?
I am a fan of Tyrese Gibson. I like seeing him in movies. I always think he does a really good job. However, I have my doubts. I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm just saying doubts. I have my doubts that he is capable of carrying a film on his own. That's just my opinion at this point. This whole thing where he's been on Facebook and on his social media channels, putting these pictures of him photoshopped in Green Lantern. I said on my social media, I said, look, this is either a stroke of genius or reeking of desperation. Like, and some people will say, well, it worked for Vin Diesel. Well, no. When Vin Diesel was putting that stuff out, he was already in talks with Marvel. Marvel had already approached him and he was in talks. And now Vin Diesel was using those posts to tease the fans. If that is the case with Tyrese Gibson, and he's already in talks with DC, then putting out these pictures is a stroke of genius, because now it's getting everybody buzzing and everybody talking. However, if this is a situation where I'm forgetting the name of the actor now, but the guy who was the first Punisher.
Thomas Jane.
Thomas Jane wanted to be the comic book cowboy character, Jonah Hex.
Jonah Hex. Okay.
Remember that? And he started putting out pictures of himself as Jonah Hex because he was lobbying to get that road. It's like that would just be sad if he's in talks with Marvel, and we don't know. We don't know if he's in talks. If he's in talks, genius. If he's not, sad.
Yeah, the first Punisher is actually Dolph Lundgren.
No,
you're right, though.
That is true.
If you look at the scale from being desperate to, oh no, this is already a thing, Vin Diesel and The Rock, who also teases characters sometimes, they've opened movies. They've had huge weekends at box offices. Tyrese has never had that on his own. He's been a part of a big franchise with Transformers, I think, but he's never opened a film by himself that's going to be to the level of a comic book film. Then the other half, you have what we talked about a couple weeks ago, the dude who's trying to lobby to be in the Power Rangers movie, who played it on the TV show. So if that feels a little bit more like that to me than this one does. So I don't know if Tyrese would be able to carry it. I haven't seen enough of his acting ability to make me say, oh yeah, hire that dude. But I think he's been fine in the limited amount of time that I've been able to see him on screen. So.
I'll say this about Tyrese, like he's a big comic book fan. He's already put out his own comic book, I think it was 2 years ago at San Diego Con. But I would, if he doesn't have the role, I'm with you. I think he should stop lobbying for it, because it makes it, to me, this calls back Sean Young when she put on the Batwoman the Catwoman. She's like chasing after Tim Burton, hanging outside of the studios. It's like, relax, it's like if they want you to be Green Lantern, You've let some artists have put you into the Green Lantern outfit, and you've posted it and said, "Hey, I'm available. If they don't want Idris, I'm available." And now I would just chill. I would just like, if he doesn't have the role like you're suggesting, if he doesn't have it, and these pictures came out, then I would not push it anymore, because otherwise you start to seem like you're crazy.
Right.
You know.
All right, what's next?
Evan Sarnecki writes, "Hey AMC Movie Talk, love the show, watch it every day. Just curious what you guys think about characters in movies breaking the fourth wall. I recently watched Ferris Bueller's Day Off and I thought it worked perfectly. Why don't movies do it more often? Also, what are some of your favorite fourth wall breaks in movies?"
Well, I don't think you do it very often because it can feel like a shtick if it happens in too many movies. But in the right movie, in the right place, and at the right time, it can really work effectively. Annie Hall, American Psycho, High Fidelity, Spaceballs, and of course Ferris Bueller's, right? Those are all great examples of movies where it really fit, done right, timed right, it fits into the movie. But if you use it too much, if too many movies, you get like 8 movies in a year that start doing it, and then it starts to feel like a tired out thing.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Spaceballs. The Wolf of Wall Street is also one that leapt into my head, where I think he mentions he talks to the audience a little bit, introduces himself anyway. Spoof movies, I think it tends to work better, where you have something like it happens one time in Airplane and it happens in Hot Shots Part 2. My favorite of all time is in Coming to America. If you don't remember the scene, it's Eric LaSalle when he comes in and he basically has a chance to hook up with somebody he should not be hooking up with, and he just looks in the camera for a minute and it kills me.
Yeah, my favorites are like Dune or Amelie, like these like kind
Amelie's
of
a great one,
self-referential,
yeah.
or like you're inside the thought process of the characters that really isn't done a lot. But my all-time favorite of any fourth wall breaking, I thought about it, was like Animal House, John Belushi, when he's like dunk 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 dunk, and that woman's taking off her top, and he just like looks at the camera like. Does the eyebrow raise? I was like, that's the all-time favorite for me. And the second all-time favorite is Eddie Murphy. He's done it a couple times, but in Bowfinger, when he was like, hey, this is awesome, and then the second one is Trading Places, when they're like, this is pork bellies, as in a BLT sandwich, and he's like, does that just like to the audience, like, who are these old men? It's like, those are and they're so like, it's not throughout the whole film. It's just that little one fourth wall break, Ferris Bueller's throughout the entire film, and that's fantastic. But to me, I like when it's just that one moment of like, you know what I mean? That's really funny in comedy. So.
All right, I said we take a couple of minutes, take some retorted questions. We're going to do that right now. So, Ashley, what have you picked out?
Box Office Artist writes, "What 80s property do you think would translate to the big screen?"
I don't know what we're talking about when you say property. Novel property, comic book property, television property, short story property. I don't know. We've seen lots of properties from the 80s translate, and some of them translate well, some of them don't translate well, so take your pick.
I've got one, Calvin and Hobbes.
Oh! Nicely done. Yeah, I'll stick with that. Let's go with Hill Street Blues. Like, you're talking about remakes?
Let's be careful out there.
That's a different thing, yeah.
All right, what's next?
Hill Street Blues.
Dan H. writes, "With Mission Impossible 5 now only 6 months away, how soon do you think we'll see the trailer?"
Oh, that's actually a really good question, because this changes things for them. Well, we're in the 6-month window now. Like, literally, we could see a trailer drop tomorrow, or maybe, I wouldn't put it any more than a month from now. I'd say within the month we will see the first trailer.
For Mission Impossible 3, they didn't do it because it was coming out in December, but for Mission Impossible 3, they had, I believe the first trailer was attached to the Super Bowl. And I don't know that if they already bought the time, because the Super Bowl ads are obviously been sold out for a few weeks, so I don't know if they can cram it in there now, but if you might get it during the big game, or you might get it, it can't be more than a couple weeks after that.
They could always swap it out if they bought an ad space. They could just swap out a movie. Yeah, this month it'll drop, especially since they just moved it up.
Yeah. Or, I mean, let's keep this in mind, too. We're just finding out about the move now. Paramount may have planned this move a month ago. So, I mean, who knows? You very well could be right. It might be Super Bowl. Who knows? All right, what's next?
Matto Filipovic writes, "With American Sniper's box office success, will this make more studios release big blockbusters in January?"
I mean, it really all depends. The American Sniper thing is a really interesting, perfect storm of circumstances and situations. Number one, it got released, like in its wide release, a few days after it just got nominated for Best Picture and Best Actor, which surprised a lot of people, right? You've got, add to that mix, a very big star right now. And Bradley Cooper and, of course, Clint Eastwood directing it. Add on top of that, it's a very patriotic movie, which right now in the day and the age, especially coming off of some of the events we've had in France and things like that, right now, it is a very stirring, moving thing right now. So I've said for a long time, I believe months like January, months like April are ripe for good, solid movies to go in and do great business. I don't know if that really applies to the American Sniper thing, because like I said, there's a number of really unique circumstances that all went into it, all happening at once. So it's hard to make a case study out of it. Do you guys see it any other way?
I mean, American Sniper is also benefiting from all the controversy that's now surrounding it, too. Because it's doing so well, there's going to be a backlash to that, and it just keeps perpetuating more people wanting to go see the film. It's hard to get that perfect storm again, and I think that it proved that this isn't going to be a trend in the future. Is it Mission Impossible 5? They could have very easily just said, you know what, let's go to January. Let's go to the middle of January because we don't want to compete with Star Wars the week after it comes out. And instead, they're like, nah, let's bring on the summer. So I don't think you're going to get that a lot, but I'd love to see it. I mean, I have to see movies year-round, so I'd love to see it.
Shep?
Yeah, I think, one thing that helped it, I believe, is the limited release structure, where a few theaters had it, and it created a buzz. I want to see it. You can't. It's only playing in these 5 theaters. And then when it finally got released, all these people would go see it because it already created that buzz and all the nominations. So.
Yeah, I think what American Sniper does, American Sniper proves that a movie can work really well in January, but it doesn't necessarily prove that movies will work well in January. So it's a wash. Okay, one last question.
Jim McCann writes, what are a few classic movies that you think would hold up if released today?
It depends, because when you're talking about what holds up, okay, honestly, Annie Hall, I mentioned it earlier in the show, that is a movie that holds up. Does the fashion in it hold up? No, but the humor, surprisingly, sometimes you watch a lot of these older comedies and the humor is out of sync with what's going on. You can watch Annie Hall today and still laugh every bit as much. I'm biased because it's Star Wars. I think Star Wars, you can watch that 1,000. The first Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark stands up. Lawrence of Arabia stands up. If you watch Godfather, I still talk to people every year who saw The Godfather for the first time this year. Every year that happens, and they're just always in awe of it. So there's some really good, true classics will hold up. Star Wars, do the visual effects hold up? No, but do the movies as a whole hold up? Absolutely. So the classics will hold up. Do you guys see it any other way?
Aliens, those hold up.
I'll go further back. I'll say The Wizard of Oz, I think, still holds up.
Yeah.
Mr. Smith Goes to Washington is a great watch. If you haven't seen it recently.
Miracle on 34th Street.
Oh, yeah.
That holds up.
And then also The Exorcist, if you want to get really dark. That movie is still the scariest film ever made. It's the greatest horror film of all time. Nothing can touch it even to this day.
All right, folks, well, that'll do it for us for this installment of AMC Movie Talk. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget, lots of great films playing at AMC Theaters right now. Head on over to www.amctheaters.com for your theater, showtime, and, of course, your movie ticket information. Listen, don't forget, also, if you're on Instagram, you can follow us at AMC Movie News on Instagram. We got an account over there. Schnepp's got a picture he took today he's going to be putting up there. And also, if you want an audio-only edition of this show, look in the description of this video, and you'll find a link to our podcast feed. I want to thank, first of all, the guy sitting at the table with me, sitting over here, Mr. Mark Ellis. Mark, where can people find you online? On Twitter at 5150Ellis, and that's also the Instagram handle. Maybe later today I'll post my favorite Far Side strip. Yeah. Mr. John Schnepp. Schnepp, where can people find you? You can find me at Twitter and Instagram at John Schnepp or at TDOSLWH, and I'm one of the idiots on opening my film against the Avengers May 1st. And, of course, our lovely host and Calvin and Hobbes virgin, Miss Ashley Mova. Ashley, where can people find you online? You guys can find me doing my Calvin and Hobbes research on Twitter and Instagram at Ashley Mova. Happy Tuesday, guys. And you can find me on the various social media networks just at John Campia. Thanks for joining us, guys. My name's John Campia for AMC Movie News, and until next time, bye-bye. Hey, everyone, if you liked this video, click that thumbs up button and make sure to subscribe to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel. It's free and helps you stay up to date with all the latest movie news, as well as our daily AMC Movie Talk show. Also, make sure that you follow us on Facebook and Twitter to stay up to date with all of our special promotions, contests, and prize giveaways.